This is chess, a game that has been played for over 1,000 years. And this here is Magnus Carlsen, the current chess world champion. Many people know him, some like him, some hate him. He might be the equivalent of a C-tier celebrity. This, on the other hand, is Go, a game that has been played for over 4,000 years. Its greatest representative is the current world champion Xinjun Zhao. Still, he is known to probably very few people in the Western world. Go has an active player base of around 60 million people, and its reputation in China, Japan and Korea is comparable to that of chess in Northern America and Europe. It is fair to say that Go is the chess of the Far East. Chess and Go are probably the most intellectual games of each culture, and they are very revealing when it comes to reflecting on the respective traditions of thought. Chess is a game with 34 rules. Furthermore, it has an extraordinary specific aim, which both players are working towards. Each player starts on one side of the field and usually strives in the other direction. It is a duel of spirits, and the emphasis is on duel, because chess, in the truest sense of the word, is confrontational and overloaded with rules. Let's talk about Go. If chess and Go were siblings, Go would be the smarter child. The number of different variants of the game far exceeds that of chess by orders of magnitude, the number of different openings as well. And yet, Go actually only has 3 rules. You place your stone one after the other. Whoever wins more areas and captures more opponent's stones wins the game. And stones that have been surrounded have to be removed from the board. If we juxtapose these descriptions of chess and Go, we can observe some characteristic differences. First, chess has much more rules, pieces and special situations, and chess is much more confrontational than Go. But now, let's take a look at the real philosophy behind these considerations. Let's once again start with the Western Hemisphere. Here, as one of our easier exercises, a short history of Western philosophy. Things started in antiquity. Aristotle invented logic and therefore our understanding of rationality. Later on, Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and philosopher, considered rationality as one of the centerpieces to a happy life. The Middle Ages were a philosophical mess, but like in a TV advertising break, Christianity took over and set the rules. Accordingly, the world was created by God, while Jesus came to us to take the original sin. It was a great story. The continuation of philosophy comes with René Descartes. I think, therefore I am. You can already notice how he uses I twice in one sentence. The Enlightenment also cheers about reason as a means of political emancipation, epistemological salvation, and generally as a means for a better, more ethical life. As a counter-movement to Enlightenment, philosophical idealism and, in another sense, romantic literature arose on the cultural horizon. Both emphasize the subject, meaning I, and they kind of blur the edges between subjectivity and objectivity. Again, we sum up what we have learned. First, we had to roughly simplify the 2,500 years because so many philosophers had so many complicated things to say. Second, I, me, and I. The topic of philosophy in Europe is apparently the individual. Third, European philosophy thinks in causal connections. It thinks logically. What does that mean? That means that things are always thought to an end. How nice for European philosophy. Let's talk about Asian philosophy. A quick note first. In East Asia, no distinction was ever made between philosophy and religion. Let's start again with a brief summary of the most important currents. In China, according to the legend, 2 philosophers competed for intellectual supremacy. Confucius, who teaches a strict ethical system in which every citizen and every member of society has a general obligation to serve society and fulfill numerous duties, and Lao Tzu, who spreads a philosophy close to nature. He believes the world comes from the Tao, which is a power that is indescribable. According to him, the aim of life is to become one with the Tao, a force about which all talk is pointless, and therefore to follow the natural course of the world. Selflessness, contemplation, and the development of a strong character are recommended in order to conform to the Tao. In India, Buddhism emerged. Buddhism is a current that explains the world as an endless series of reactions and seeks to nullify the world's suffering. This is possible, according to Buddha, by recognizing that all suffering is attachment to the world, and that you should consequently remove yourself from the endless cycle of joy and suffering. In that state of mind, you will be enlightened and find inner peace. So far, so good. Let's sum these parts up again. In none of the major currents of philosophy is the individual an end in itself. Confucius sees the individual as a part of society. Lao sees the individual as an expression of the Tao, and the Buddha sees the individual as a sum of different effects. The philosophical landscape of Asia is much more manageable, although we of course have omitted a few philosophers and currents. Asian philosophy thinks in context, but never towards a specific end. Rather, it takes a holistic view and never assumes a specific beginning or end. So, let's put European and Asian philosophy side by side one last time, and we see. Where European philosophy is complicated, Asian philosophy is simple. Where European thinking revolves around the individual and his or her goals, Asian philosophy focuses on the big picture. Where European philosophy always thinks towards an end, Asian philosophy thinks in recurring contexts. Now, if we look at the differences between chess and Go, chess has more rules, just as European philosophy has more minor currents than Go and Asian philosophy. Chess has a specific goal. Go has a much less linear approach for how to win. Similarly, European thinking is causal, Asian holistic. The egocentricity of European thinking can usually not be easily transferred to gaming culture. However, it is worth considering that in chess your own troops are on your own side and your opponents on the other. Go sees an empty board. Finally, what do we personally think about these lessons? We believe the European way, which is the much more direct way in which you use all your force to achieve a certain goal with complete focus on your own agenda, will probably end worse than trying to create a harmonious overall picture. Or, to put it briefly, we prefer a pretty defeat in Go to a material victory in chess. Let us know what you think in the comments. Thank you for your attention, and see you next time at Cider.